The Monday morning hush in the main hallway of the Maryland State House in Annapolis felt tense, like every start-of-week ritual in government buildings. I was Dr. Camilla Brooks, a 40-year-old black woman with a PhD in national security from Georgetown University. Dressed in my white button-up shirt tucked neatly into black slacks, topped with a light gray blazer, I carried a thick folder of classified reports under my arm. My steps were steady on the marble floor, echoing softly amid the historical portraits of Maryland governors lining the walls. I didn't glance around. My focus was on the upcoming closed-door federal meeting in 10 minutes, where I'd brief on vulnerabilities in law enforcement oversight systems. I'd been in this role for 3 months now as strategic advisor to the Department of Defense, coordinating internal cleanup programs for misconduct in security forces. The air smelled of polished wood and faint coffee from the break rooms, with staffers bustling past with badges clipped to lanyards. I loved the work. It was my way of reshaping a system that had overlooked people like me for too long. But every entry into these halls reminded me of the subtle isolation, the quick glances from clerks, as if I didn't quite fit the profile of authority. As I passed the reception desk, a grand wooden counter with the state seal, I heard a voice behind me, sharp and commanding. "Hey, you there, stop." I turned. 2 white security officers, Officer Ronald Knox and Officer Delaney, approached, their eyes cold, hands resting on their belts near holsters. Knox, the older one with graying hair and a chiseled jaw, spoke first. "Who are you? Who's cleared you for the internal floors?" "I have federal access clearance," I said calmly, pulling my badge from my blazer's inner pocket. The hard plastic card bore the Pentagon emblem with Level 5 access top tier for sensitive intel. Delaney snatched it, flipping it over dismissively. "I've never seen anyone like you with federal clearance. You look like you're in the wrong place." I said nothing, just held out my hand for it back. "I'm running late for a national security briefing. If you need verification, I can call the site supervisor." "Oh, go ahead and call." Knox laughed loudly. "Call the president while you're at it." The conflict hit suddenly, like a wall rising in my path. The 2 officers held my badge captive, blocking me in the middle of the main lobby, under the gaze of office staff and visitors shuffling through. Knox raised it high, like exhibiting a cheap fake at a flea market, his voice booming. "Everyone, look at this. A federal badge for Camilla Brooks. Who believes it? You think we're dumb enough to let you waltz in without a check?" A male office worker passing by whispered to his colleague, "She looks like she's handing out flyers. How does someone like her get security access?" An older woman shook her head, muttering to the desk guard, "Don't know how anyone can fake being an official these days. Look at her outfit like she's from some poor neighborhood." Delaney keyed his radio, his voice echoing. "We're detaining a black female individual, around 40, claiming access to federal floors, requesting ID verification, high likelihood of forgery." I stood still, my eyes locked on Knox, who clutched my badge like worthless trash. "I'll give you another 30 seconds to return that and retract what you've said." Knox laughed loudly, his tone dripping sarcasm. "Who do you think you are, giving orders in a government building? You're not in the Bronx anymore, girl. This is Maryland, not a spot for your scams." His words cut like knives into my dignity, not just the holdup, but the public degradation in front of a growing crowd. I was a PhD, a high-level Pentagon advisor, but right then, I was just a girl from the Bronx, a stereotype stripped bare in public. Staff gathered, whispering, some filming on phones. "My name is Dr. Camilla Brooks. And if you want to know who I am, you're about to find out. But Knox just shook his head, shoving me toward the desk. You'll wait here until we verify, and don't even think about leaving. The insult spread like wildfire, with contemptuous glances from the crowd making me feel exposed, raw in that public space. I reached into my blazer pocket for my phone. I didn't dial immediately. Instead, I unlocked it with a thumb scan and opened the encrypted app, tapping the small eagle mask icon, the symbol for the Pentagon's secure line. In less than 15 seconds, the screen lit up. Pentagon security line level 5, active connection. I said nothing. I didn't need to. I simply held the phone up for the two officers to see the pulsing red icon. Knox staggered back a step, his face draining of color. Delaney's laugh died in his throat, his arms dropping limp at his sides. The lobby fell into a profound stillness, as if the air itself had thickened. A young staffer nearby glimpsed the screen and nearly dropped his coffee cup, whispering, "Pentagon, is that for real?" I didn't acknowledge the crowd. I didn't explain or defend. I just locked eyes with Knox and Delaney, calm, unblinking, a gaze that stripped away their bluster, forcing them to look away first. Want to know who I am? Wait for the bell to ring. My words were brief, like a slow fuse bomb, instantly shifting the dynamic. After my quiet activation of the app, Officer Ronald Knox stared at the pulsing red icon on my phone screen, his face twisting from skepticism to forced dismissal. He handed the phone back roughly, chuckling low to his partner, Delaney. "You believe her?" Delaney whispered, glancing at Knox with a smirk. "Sounds like something out of a spy flick." Knox snorted. "These people are great at putting on a show. A red app? Big deal, probably downloaded it from some store." An administrative staffer from the second floor hurried past, pausing to ask the desk guard, "What's going on? All the entrances are blocked." The guard pointed my way, whispering, "She's suspected of forgery. Might be trying to breach the federal floors." Rumors spread like wildfire. A group of young clerks clustered in the hallway, one pulling out his phone to live stream. "Cops are holding a black woman. Looks intense." "Don't know who these people think they are?" another muttered. "Only civilians react like that." Meanwhile, Knox still clutched my badge, laughing loudly. "If this is real clearance, I'm the president." The laughter echoed over his radio. Another officer from control room joked back, "Don't slap her too hard or it'll make the news." "Thought she was somebody big," Delaney added, tapping his handcuffs lightly. The bystanders fueled it, whispers turning to open stares, phones capturing every moment. I stood silent, letting their words build the case against them, my presence alone amplifying the growing tension. I stood there unmoved, rain still pattering outside the lobby windows, as Knox pocketed my badge with a smirk. The crowd's whispers buzzed like static, but I didn't react. No outburst, no demands. Instead, I spoke one quiet sentence. "Do you realize you're being recorded, Officer Knox?" They both froze, Knox's laugh dying mid-breath, Delaney's hand pausing on his radio. "This building is under conduct oversight for enforcement personnel," I continued softly. "A system I implemented internally last month." Knox's eyes narrowed. "What the? You're broadcasting directly to the Pentagon security grid," I added, my tone level. "With real-time audio archiving." No one replied. The laughter vanished, replaced by thick silence. The young staffer nearby shifted uncomfortably. The older woman who'd muttered earlier averted her gaze. "I don't want to escalate this," I said, my voice still gentle. But every minute that passes after this warning without corrective action becomes an aggravating factor in the charges. Delaney stepped back half a pace, his confidence cracking. But Knox puffed up, face reddening. "You threatening cops now?" I tilted my head slightly, meeting his stare with calm eyes. "I'm reminding you. People have gone to prison for laughing on a recording less than 90 seconds long." The words landed like quiet thunder. Knox's hand twitched toward his belt, but he didn't move. Delaney glanced at the desk phone as if expecting it to ring any second. The lobby's hum faded further, the staffers' whispers turning to uneasy silence, phones lowering as doubt crept in. I didn't press. Didn't need to. My subtle nudge had exposed their bluff, the air now heavy with the weight of their own words echoing back. Suddenly, the reception desk phone rang a high, piercing tone unlike any internal call I'd heard in this building. It cut through the lobby's tension like a siren, making heads turn. The clerk, a young man in a button-down, looked puzzled as he picked up. "Maryland State Government Center, how can I help you?" His face paled within 3 seconds, eyes widening as he listened. Yes, sir. She's standing right here." He glanced up at me, then quickly at Officer Knox, hand trembling as he extended the receiver. They want to talk to you." Knox hesitated, his smirk fading, but he took the phone, holding it like it might bite. Delaney leaned in slightly, face tight with curiosity. Knox pressed it to his ear. His expression froze as the voice on the other end spoke loud enough in the quiet lobby for fragments to carry. "This is the Rapid Response Commander from the Pentagon. We're connecting via red priority line. You're obstructing a high-level federal asset while her mission is monitored by the National Security Council." The entire lobby plunged into frozen silence. Staffers stopped mid-step. The young clerk nearly dropped his pen. Whispers died. Phones lowered as people strained to hear. Knox's hand shook. This must be a mistake. The voice cut him off, authoritative and unyielding. His face hardened, then crumpled, color draining away. Delaney backed up a step, eyes darting to me like he'd seen a ghost. I stood perfectly still, unmoving. I didn't flinch. My gaze, steady from start to finish, hadn't blinked once. The standoff intensified after Knox slammed the phone down, his face a mask of forced composure, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air-conditioned lobby. He glared at me, clutching my badge tighter, as if holding it gave him control. I need more verification," he stammered, voice cracking but defiant. "You haven't shown any real documents yet." "I provided the badge," I replied evenly. "You're still holding it." Delaney whispered urgently to him. "Ron, we should release her. This isn't some regular person." But Knox shook his head, stubbornness fueling his denial. He yanked out his personal phone, dialing with trembling fingers. "I need internal affairs to confirm a woman's identity claiming federal envoy status." I took one slow step forward, my voice calm but precise. "Every minute you delay, the full audio is streaming live to the Pentagon's oversight system. And now, it's mine at 8. The lobby crowd swelled, staffers pausing mid-stride, visitors craning necks. The young clerk who'd been filming earlier hadn't stopped, his live stream capturing it all. "They're saying she's a high level in government security." Thought she was peddling papers at first. An older woman gasped softly. "That's Dr. Camilla Brooks. I've seen her on the news. She's the coordinator for the state's internal power oversight program." The air shifted palpably from mockery to shock, then to taut silence. Whispers rippled. "If she's Pentagon-linked, those guys are toast," Knox's call connected, but his face paled as he listened, his free hand clenching. Delaney backed up, eyes wide, realizing the hole they'd dug. Knox barked into the phone, "Run the name Camilla Brooks and hurry!" But his voice wavered, the aggression now a desperate shield. The atmosphere crackled with tension, every eye on us, the weight of impending fallout pressing down like the building itself. A man in a suit descended from the third floor, the chief of staff for the state administrative wing. As soon as he saw me, he hurried over, removing his glasses. "Dr. Brooks, I'm sorry, I had no idea this was happening." Knox stepped back. Delaney stood still. "The woman you two just handcuffed is the one who redesigned the state's misconduct oversight protocols, and she's a special advisor to the Department of Defense office." On the other side of the hallway, a few staff members quietly pocketed their filming phones. The lobby now quiet as a wind-blocked lake. I looked straight at the two officers, my voice low but clear, each word deliberate. "I won't raise my voice, because I know the cameras have captured everything, but I'll let the system I helped fix handle you. And trust me, it's very good at that." Knox's hand dropped from his belt like it weighed a ton. Delaney unclipped his radio, setting it on the reception desk with a soft clunk. The lobby's hush deepened, broken only by the distant hum of elevators. From behind, the rapid clip of footsteps echoed. A team of internal investigators in special badges stormed in, carrying sealed folders. The leader, a stern woman in a suit, spoke curtly. "Suspension order signed. We're taking over." The area chief arrived moments later, face taut as wire. "Camilla, I'm sorry. This incident, it doesn't reflect the whole department." I didn't reply. When truth speaks, excuses become mere noise. Less than an hour after the lobby incident, a convoy of government vehicles pulled into the western parking lot of the Maryland State House, a fleet of black SUVs with tinted windows, no sirens, but an unmistakable air of urgency. Leading was the Regional Internal Security Commissioner for the Northeast, flanked by a team of federal investigators from the Pentagon, their gold badges glinting under the morning sun. They didn't use the main entrance. They accessed the secure elevator A, reserved for high-level clearances, ascending straight to the emergency processing floor where I sat, my hand still resting on the untouched folder of reports from that morning's delayed briefing. "Dr. Brooks?" the commissioner said, extending her hand as she entered the room. "The system apologizes for what occurred this morning, and the system will clean itself." She nodded slightly, her expression professional but grave. "I don't need apologies," I replied. "I need procedure." Immediately, the indefinite suspension order was issued for Officers Knox and Delaney. Internal cameras, radios, all 24-hour communication data from them were locked into analysis mode, every word, every action dissected for the record. An emergency hearing convened right there, with the area police chief required to attend. No one could refuse. I sat at the head of the table, folder open now, as the commissioner laid out the charges. The violations didn't just happen in behavior. I stated briefly to the federal panel, my voice steady, but in the tacit agreement that allowed it to persist too long. The chief shifted uncomfortably. His earlier authority evaporated. Knox and Delaney weren't present. They'd been escorted out earlier, badges confiscated, faces pale with the dawning reality of their fall. The investigators pored over logs, pulling up footage from lobby cams, their mockery, the withheld badge, the public humiliation. I watched it all unfold, not with satisfaction, but with the quiet resolve of necessity. This wasn't revenge. It was the machinery I'd helped build finally turning on its own flaws. The commissioner shook my hand again as the session wrapped. "We'll handle the cleanup, Dr. Brooks." I nodded. "See that you do." Right in the press conference that afternoon, held in the state capitol's media room with its high ceilings and rows of cameras flashing like gunfire, the regional commissioner stepped to the podium. I stood off to the side, arms crossed, watching as she adjusted the mic, her voice booming through the speakers. Dr. Camilla Brooks, Strategic Advisor to the Department of Homeland Security, overseeing the coordination of the Law Enforcement Misconduct Purification Program, was harassed and humiliated by 2 local officers right here in the state government headquarters this morning. She paused, letting the words sink in. This wasn't a minor error. It's proof of why the system needs overhaul. The room erupted, reporters scribbling furiously, phones buzzing with alerts. Headlines exploded across major outlets almost instantly. Black woman handcuffed in government building turns out she's top Pentagon advisor. Lobby camera captures historic moment. One look halts an entire force. Officials who'd ignored past complaints about Knox now flooded my inbox with apologies, emails from chiefs and supervisors, all regretting the oversight and committing to change. I didn't respond. What good were words after the fact? Instead, I sent a single memo to the units under my oversight. Every time the system humiliates someone, it's digging its own grave. My identity was out now, official and unignorable, flipping the narrative completely. No longer the suspicious woman in the lobby, I was the force they'd underestimated, the one rewriting their rules. Reporters clamored for quotes, but I waved them off, stepping back as the commissioner fielded questions. In that reversal, I felt the shift. Power wasn't in the outburst, but in the revelation that forced the world to see me as I truly was. Knox, the one who'd held my badge like a cheap joke, was now seated before the disciplinary board in a windowless room at the State Security Annex, no lawyer by his side. He looked smaller without his uniform, just a man in a rumpled shirt, fidgeting with his hands as the panel reviewed the footage. I wasn't there. I didn't need to be. My presence would have been redundant. The evidence spoke for itself. I didn't know who she was, he stammered, voice cracking under the weight of the room's silence. I thought I was just following procedure. The commissioner, a stern woman with silver hair and a stack of reports before her, didn't look up from the file. She read aloud, her tone flat and unforgiving. The issue isn't that you didn't know who she was. The issue is that you believed you had the right to judge someone based solely on their skin color and where they stood. Knox's face crumpled, sweat beading on his forehead. He opened his mouth to protest, but nothing came out. The board flipped through pages of logs, his radio chatter mocking me, Delaney's complicit silence, the lobby cams capturing every sneer and grab. When the dismissal order was signed, a simple stamp on paper that ended his career, he didn't fight. He just sat there, eyes glassy, as they collected his credentials. "Effective immediately," the commissioner said. "You're barred from any law enforcement role." Delaney, who'd stood by passively watching his partner abuse his power, was next. He entered pale, avoiding the board's gaze. The investigation into him for aiding and abetting through inaction was swift, his failure to intervene, his quiet endorsement of the harassment. "Silent complicity is complicity," the commissioner noted, citing the very protocols I'd helped draft. He, too, faced scrutiny, his badge suspended pending full review. I heard about it later, from a memo in my inbox. No satisfaction stirred in me, only the grim certainty that this was how change happened. One exposed flaw at a time. They'd crumbled, not under shouts, but under the unyielding truth of their own actions. For every Knox and Delaney, There were systems to dismantle, and I was just getting started. 1 week after the incident, I returned to the Maryland State House not as a victim revisiting trauma, but as the high-level advisor I'd always been. This time, I entered through the honor entrance reserved for top clearances, a discreet side door with biometric scans and no public scrutiny. No fanfare, no press release, no applause from staffers who'd witnessed my humiliation. I didn't need it. I walked alone through the main lobby, the same marble floors echoing under my heels, the historical portraits staring down as before. My outfit was simple, a navy pantsuit, no blazer, hair pulled back in a low bun. People recognized me now, clerks pausing mid-stride, guards straightening subtly. Whispers followed. That's her, the Pentagon advisor. But no one dared approach with apologies. They understood. A late sorry was worth less than cautious eyes from the start. I stopped before the elevator that had been blocked that day, the one leading to secure floors. Memories flickered. Knox's sneer, Delaney's radio call, the crowd's judgmental stares. I'd been reduced to suspicious, my credentials dismissed because I didn't fit their authority mold. That day, they held me back because I didn't match the power image in their heads, I murmured to myself, voice barely audible amid the lobby's hum. Today, I'm exactly the same as then. The difference? They no longer dared look at me that way. Eyes averted as I pressed the button. The doors opened with a soft ding. I stepped in, the folder of new reports under my arm work uninterrupted, purpose renewed. No turning back. The doors closed, carrying me up, leaving the lobby and its ghosts below. On a secure forum for security personnel, an anonymous post was shared internally. I was on duty that day. I heard the entire call from the Pentagon, saw with my own eyes Dr. Brooks's gaze when she didn't even need to raise her voice to make everything stop. She didn't need to prove anything. Just existing was enough to make the system examine itself. That post was saved in that year's internal bulletin as a standard ethical training case. And the name Camilla Brooks? No need to exalt it. Just mentioning it makes everyone understand. True power doesn't lie in giving orders, but in making others silence themselves. At the end of the year, a small brass plaque was installed in the main lobby of the Maryland State House, a subtle addition to the marble wall near the reception desk, where the incident had unfolded that fateful Monday morning. I wasn't there for the unveiling. No ceremony marked it, no speeches were given. It was simply placed, as if the building itself had decided to remember. The inscription read, "This is the place where a woman was once humiliated and from it taught a generation about the limits of power." Camilla Brooks, federal commissioner below it, etched faintly, was the small red eagle symbol of the Pentagon's secure line, a quiet emblem of the connection that had turned the tide. I returned one afternoon, months later, to see it for myself. The lobby bustled as always, staffers with lanyards hurrying past, visitors glancing at historical displays. But as people walked by the plaque, something shifted. A young clerk paused, reading it silently, then bowed his head slightly, not in fear, but in reflection. An older guard, perhaps one who'd been on shift that day, touched his cap as he passed, eyes downcast. They knew. One day, they might encounter another woman who needed no proof at all. Just her presence, standing there, waiting for the bell to toll. I stood before it, tracing the words with my finger. The metal was cool, unyielding, much like the resolve I'd held that morning. No triumph swelled in my chest, only a quiet acknowledgement that change wasn't loud. It was persistent, etched into the very walls we'd fought to enter. A staffer approached hesitantly. "Dr. Brooks?" Is that really about you? I nodded once. It's about all of us. She walked away, head bowed in thought. As I turned to leave, the elevator dinged the same one they'd blocked. I stepped in, doors closing smoothly. The building no longer felt like a barrier. It felt like a lesson learned,